Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm your host Joe Dellera, and we've got NBA Watts back in the building. Watts, how are you doing today? How are you feeling about the playoffs so far?
I'm great, man. It's good to be back, dude. I missed coming on here. I feel like I have all these things to share with the people and no outlet for it. It's been good, man. I've been loving these playoffs so far. Just absolute I feel like the series that weren't good, they were kind enough to just get them out of the way. We didn't have to like stick around for some, stupid 5 or 6 gamer when we know it's a foregone conclusion. Memphis swept. I bet on that. It's been going well from a betting angle too. That's why I've been pumped to get back on here, share the wealth with the good people of Rhythm. How have you
No,
been, man?
good man. I mean, the playoffs have been solid for me. Been cashing a couple really sick bets. A couple series
Hell
leader
yeah.
props. Had Ant to lead the last series in assists, so that was a lot of fun.
Mm.
And then obviously because the Lakers got out so early, all their like full playoff bets cashed for me already. So like the Luca over, the Ant or the Reeves unders. So really happy for my bankroll right now to get that turnaround so quickly. So
Awesome.
definitely happy about that, even though obviously like I like to watch Luca, I like to watch LeBron, but
Yeah.
it's like what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think the so far the first round has been fascinating, and we like you said we've had a number of different series have um like exposed some teams, like opened up some teams, maybe some teams that you think are like contenders or so to speak. Which team has surprised you the most out of the first round? And then we'll come around with which team you think is most disappointing.
Yeah. I want to it's tough. I do think that in terms of who has surprised me the most, it's a tough one because I have felt that the teams that I was high on have performed well, but I didn't necessarily think that the teams I was high on would perform as well as they have. For instance, the Wolves, I actually expected that to be a bit longer of a series, despite being high on them kind of longer term. Um, but if I did have to give out maybe a most surprising, it sounds weird to say, but maybe the Nuggets, honestly, because they just looked pretty cooked for a second. The wins that they were kind of eking out these wins, and Jamal just hasn't looked right for uh, I don't know, weeks, months, year, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's been a while. He's been looking rough, obviously. But as we saw last game, he's so crucial to their success. But so I guess his resurgence or reemergence, whatever you want to call it, has been kind of surprising. Although none of these feel that surprising. They just feel that they've the degree to which they've been good teams have been good or bad teams have been bad even has been kind of the surprising element for me. How
Yeah,
about
I
you?
think I think for the team that I've been most surprised with in a good way, um, has probably been I think Cleveland, honestly, the fact that they
Yeah.
didn't fuck around and they
Hmm.
didn't, they had the one game that they almost could have lost game 2, and then they just came out and like shut the door on Miami. So I was impressed with that. I think that was important that they got out and just win that series right away. And for a team that I'm most like, we'll switch to disappointed with, I'm a little disappointed with the Knicks. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
like this is a series that on paper they should have dominated.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a little bit disappointing when you put it in that type of framework. Um, they the series is basically dead even in terms of point differential, everything, and the
Yeah.
starting lineup hasn't looked great. So uh, I think they probably get through, and we'll touch on that game in a little bit. But I'm definitely a little disappointed in New York.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think we were all pretty high on Detroit for the season. A lot of the folks that we talked to about
Yeah,
NBA, we were on their win total over. We were, have kind of witnessed the Cade. emergence. And he's been fantastic. Honestly, I might frame it another way. The team that I've been most surprised by is probably Detroit, and maybe more specifically Cade, because while I've been disappointed in the Knicks, I think you got to give props to specifically Cade. Honestly, I think and Tobias, even you could give some credit to Tobias. I don't think it's been a particularly well coached series across the board. So I think it's kind of boiled down to the individual shot making and playmaking. Tibbs is really not running a ton of plays here. He's
No.
not a lot of. I mean, they had an ATO in after a long run from the Pistons that just ended in absolute garbage. Nothing. It was like Miles McBride looked completely lost in that play. Which you could maybe blame on him, but ultimately that's coaching, right? He looked like he had no idea what to do. It's hard without the the clip to show you, but but that's honestly not been surprising to me, unfortunately, the lack of Tibbs coaching. So definitely disappointing, but maybe not surprising.
Yeah, I think it definitely is kind of one of those situations where you look at it and you're like, oh well, like they probably should be better, but kind of here we are still, right? So
Yeah,
it is what it is. But at the end of the day, we do have a number of series that are like starting to formulate, or so to speak, in the second round. We do have some teams that advanced. Obviously, we have one set matchup in the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We also have the Boston Celtics advanced, and they will play the winner of New York, Detroit. The Minnesota Timberwolves advanced. They beat the Lakers. They will play either the Golden State Warriors or the Houston Rockets. And then we have Oklahoma City, who swept, and they will play the winner of Denver and the LA Clippers. So it's possible that all of these matchups are set tomorrow. It's also possible that we have some game sevens and we're not totally sure. But the one series that we do have, Cleveland is a pretty significant favorite on Indiana. What do you think of the series price, and have you bet anything yet?
I have bet a few things. I honestly, going into this series, I was pretty ready to. I was kind of preparing myself to be on Indiana in some way, shape, or form. Just they are one of the best teams against the spread and straight up versus plus 500 teams. They have performed really well to their the higher competition, and kind of where they fall short is that lower competition, right? The teams that they're clearly better than, they'll lose to like the Wizards or something, but beat the Cavs or the Celtics. So I was expecting, like I said, to be on them, but when I ran my projections, which have been very, very have been very helpful to me this whole playoffs, and to a point where I really do trust them at this point. Also, it honestly, the value was on Cleveland for me. And this is using season long data, not even using recency bias, not using any sort of recent playoff numbers. Now, maybe that's a flaw in the projections, but for the most part, my spread projections, which have been doing well, have been using that full season data. So I trust it. But basically, I make this minus 550 for the series, and it's basically around 500, 480 in some spots. So the value to me is on Cleveland, despite what I kind of thought I would be, going for heading into this. Have you made any bets on this? I have a couple, but
I mean, my off the cuff bet was to bet Pacers plus 2.5. Then I was looking at it a little bit more, and I was like, well, over 5.5 games was minus 105. So I was like, well, if you're going to bet the Pacers plus 2.5, you may as well bet the over 5.5 instead at the juice it was anyway. So I couldn't get there on the price because I think the lowest line I was seeing was Pacers plus 2.5 at minus 135. So I just couldn't get there. I think that there's going to be a spot to bet Indiana in this series, but I'm not sure if it's going to be right away. I did bet one thing right off the rip, And Donovan Mitchell, points leader in this series, opened at minus 135, which I thought was an insane number. He's just cooked. He's absolutely cooked against Indiana because Indiana doesn't like to double, and he's going to pretty much beat everybody off the dribble in that series. So I really like that bet. I'm not sure where it's at now, but I'm pretty sure it got steamed to all hell. And now I'm sitting on a pretty good ticket.
It's like minus 350 some places, I'm pretty sure, man. I was looking at you when I saw that. I was like, what? I saw you log it in the app, and I was just ready to run over and put that in. And by the time I got to it, nothing left. I think I had looked at it later in the night. I saw that you logged it and was like, oh, I should get to it. It was in the middle of something, but couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
And then, long gone. So Godspeed with that.
But yeah, so I'm looking at that, and I think in game one, I'm going to want to be on Miles Turner stuff. Game one is not the game. Like, Cleveland's not going to pre-adjust. They're going to play their lineups. They're going to play their rotations, and Jared Allen's like generally going to drop on him. And I think it's going to be a decent opportunity for that, at least early in the series, until maybe we see a little bit less Jared Allen, a little bit more Evan Mobley. And I also think Mobley, rebounds leader, probably is going to have a little bit of value, but the number isn't there for me. Given I think there might be a scheme change after game one, I might be waiting for it to bet like after a game or two and then see where we're at.
Yeah, I like those.
I would say go for it.
No, so I have a couple of these sort of spread and exact outcome bets that I was on. So I did see a little bit, I mentioned how much my numbers like Cleveland here. I bet the minus 2.5. I laid 2.5 games with Cleveland at I believe I got plus 125. Yeah. So plus 125, value down to basically
number.
Yeah. So basically value down to plus 115, I would say, but really try to get I think there's a 120 at MGM somewhere out there. I really like that look. I think this is, as much as I'm high on the Pacers, I think that, what we saw last season with them against the Celtics, I think they covered every single game in that sweep, but they got swept, right? I think that they're good enough to compete with these guys like the Cavs and the Celtics, but I don't know that it's going to necessarily lead to actual, that many wins. I even sprinkled a little bit because of how my projections, the most value that I saw in terms of exact series outcome, I sprinkled a little bit on for Cleveland to sweep at plus 500.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to imagine, if you think that they're going to kind of dominate based on your numbers, that there's a decent chance that you could at least get a sweep in there too. So I don't mind that at all. Now, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, I like I said with the Boston thing, I think there's a decent chance they could cover every single game and still lose, one or they could win 1 or 0 games in that. So
it's definitely a little bit harder to tell and figure out where exactly, it's going to be. Looking at these other series that we might get, which matchup would you be most excited to see?
I think I'm going to be excited for Minnesota and the Warriors. I think that'll be my most exciting thing to see. Not to just bore you guys with numbers all day, but that was the one that was the closest and just the most evenly matched, basically coin flip. I think that the Wolves, I think the addition of Jimmy Butler against this Wolves team really adds a nice wrinkle. The Wolves, even before they kind of made this ascension, always played the Dubs really well, even when the Dubs were a lot better than them. They had that awesome overtime game in the regular season a couple years ago. That was kind of like one of their first, okay, these guys are here. These guys are on their way up. So I think that's going to be, I think that'll be the most interesting series. We have a lot of 3-point shooting and defense on the Wolves. Defense on the Dub side, offense is questionable, but yeah, I think it'll be a good one. It'll be a slog.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see OKC Denver. I want to see the two MVP candidates go head
Yeah.
to head. I think that it's a stylistic difference. Obviously, Denver, Oklahoma City would probably be a pretty big favorite, I think, in that series. But either way, you get to see Jokic versus Shea. But let's dive into today's slate a little bit. We've got a 2-game slate, and we are going to start off with our favorite team. We've got the New York Knicks against the Detroit Pistons. The spread has kind of been bouncing, like really basically at a pick 'em. We've got Detroit as a 1.5 point home favorite. The Knicks, and the total is over under 213.5. Do you have a feeling for a side in this game? I know we both have been a little bit disappointed in New York, but what are your thoughts on this game overall?
I think the Knicks get it done here. I my model makes this New York pretty significantly towards New York, and as a basketball viewer, I don't necessarily think it should be a massive spread, but so far when my projections have had been kind of weighed to these larger spreads where maybe my brain doesn't agree with it as a ball watcher,
Yeah.
they've still been accurate. And in this case, I think that while the point differential has been pretty much even up until now, I think Detroit's done a great job of kind of yeah basically punching up to a older and more experienced and honestly more talented team. I just think that the Knicks are the better team. They have been the better team all season, as good as Detroit has been. I think that I don't really buy into the Detroit hasn't won a home game in X number of whatever since 17 years. Like, I don't really care about that, but this is a team that in the Knicks that have been here the last couple years. Whereas Detroit, I mean, we're 1 year away from them being 22. What was it? 22 straight losses,
Yeah.
29 straight losses. I can't even remember what
I
it
mean,
was, but
outrageous. Yeah.
something crazy. Yeah. So I just think this is a Knicks spot. I think they don't want to go 7. I think they've been the better fourth quarter team this whole time in this entire series. And I think, keeping it close, this is a short spread, keeping it close. It's going to come down to those late game shot making. And as good as Cade has been, Brunson has been even better. He looks a little hobbled. We don't know what that injury is like, but I think this is a clear Knicks spot. I have a couple trends, but I want to hear your thoughts before I go into those.
No, go ahead, go into it because I'm going to
Okay.
talk about a little bit more of a niche angle.
Okay, cool. So one thing with the Knicks in their spot right now. So road teams up 3-2 in game 6 are 64 and 34 against the spread for 27% ROI. Teams off an upset loss since the 17-18 playoffs, 122, 84, and 3 against the spread for 14% ROI. This season, that's 9-4 against the spread, that exact situation. So we have, kind of a team that got upset last game, the revenge angle. I honestly think that the kind of zigzag revenge angle gets a little bit overhyped in the playoffs when it's clearly a better team on one side. For instance, last night, everyone was on the Lakers, and there was no basketball reason to believe that the Lakers were going to win that game. Like,
Yeah.
everyone said, oh, they're going to get a crazy whistle. Oh, they're going to, it's Luka and LeBron. What are you talking about? It's like they literally played their entire starters the entire game, second half of that last game. Now you could make a comparison with the Knicks there too, but let's not do that. Yeah, I just think this is a good angle for a more experienced team with revenge. And I think they're going to get it done. I hope they do, and I think they will.
I think they definitely have a good shot at it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that way. I had to write the game guide for the Action Network, but I I came in on this angle. I was like, let's do a little bit of a niche angle. Let's see where some of the advantages and disadvantages are. One of the biggest concerns that I have is that the Pistons 5-man lineup in the playoffs have the best 5-man lineup in the playoffs with 100 plus possessions. And it's their starting 5 of Cade, Asar, Hardaway, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren. The interesting thing about it is that it's not actually because of their first quarter numbers. They have a plus 29.2 point differential, that 5-man lineup. The Knicks starting 5, not been very good, minus 4.7 in their terms of net rating, both of those numbers from Cleaning the Glass. But the part that I thought was interesting is that it's not really about the first quarter. The Knicks start off pretty well. They're plus 8.1 net rating in the first quarter. The Pistons net rating in the third quarter is a plus 28, which is just insane. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't know if it's I don't think it's a Bickerstaff thing. But they're just coming out firing after halftime. And I just grabbed the Pistons third quarter money line. It's like minus 110, minus 115. They've literally won every single third quarter this series. So, as a Knicks fan, like, hopefully I just lose money and light it on fire and the Knicks drop like a 50-2 third quarter. But I don't really see any reason to go away from this. And I am getting a little bit of an interesting number here. I don't have to lay points. I'm just, laying an extra 5 cents of juice there, and I'm getting the money line. So overall, throughout the series, this game through this series through 5 games is separated by 5 points. The Knicks are up 532 to 527. So it's super thin margin, and there is an edge for Detroit in the third quarter, which is really the biggest edge overall in the series. So I was like, let me grab that. The fourth quarter obviously has been all New York, but I do like this opportunity here at minus 110, minus 115 for the Pistons on the third quarter.
That's great, man. That's a really interesting angle. I anecdotally too, I feel like that's always the quarter that Tibbs just throws out some like, what the fuck are you doing lineup?
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it, but where it's just like 3 guys that you haven't played all game, and it's just like, all right, go get out there, do your thing, and it just doesn't work. Usually, campaign Landry Shamet related, although Shamet hasn't been involved as much this series. But I love, that's a great angle. You're right. With such thin margins, that's one where there's a way bigger edge. So,
if you want to get real funky, because there's clear negative correlation with this bet. If you bet the Knicks on the money line, but you parlayed it with Detroit in the third quarter, you're going to get plus 410 right now at DraftKings. So that's like, I think that's worth like a little bit of a sprinkle there. Based kind of on what we've been talking about. New York's just been dominant in the fourth quarter. So those things are clearly not correlated between winning the third quarter and winning the game so far this series. So definitely a spot to maybe sprinkle out there at plus 410. So really, really solid. Let's look at the next game, which is the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Clippers. And when we look at this game, the spread is fairly significant. I think we've seen this line kind of move. It's been bouncing around between 6, 6.5, 7. Total is 211.5. Jamal Murray just absolutely lit the Nets on fire last game. Are you buying in on this game, Andrew?
I am. I mean, I'm more, really what I just think it's a bad number, man. I think if the Nuggets did figure something out, this is kind of one of those instances where the zigzag theory is just going a little bit too far, in my opinion. Like, I mean, seven points is, first of all, the most common outcome in the NBA is 7. So you're telling me that they have to, the Clippers basically just have to set the Nets on fire themselves today. I mean, one of the wins that the Clippers had was a game where Kawhi Leonard literally did not miss I think he missed 2 shots the entire game. And that was a game they won by 1 or 2, something like that. the Nuggets easily could have won that. And that was also when at a time when Murray wasn't playing well. So if he has figured this out, he looks, I mean, I don't know why, I can't explain the improvement, to be honest. But if if this Murray game is sustainable, now I don't expect him to get 40, 43, but I think that I just think this is a bad line. I think this is a massive overreaction to the zigzag bounce back theory and kind of everyone's preconceived notions pre-series on the Clippers. We saw them get steamed down right, from the initial bad line opener. But I think everyone kind of has those priors a little bit too stuck in their minds. And I like +7 down to +6, basically, which is right around where it is now.
No, I like that. I think that Denver, obviously you have Jokic, and they seem to be having like a little bit more energy. Like the Clippers look older, they look slower. They have not really been gelling as much as the series has kind of progressed, and we haven't seen Harden have like one of those incredible games lately. Harden has one of those games. Like Kawhi obviously had that great game the other day, but aside from that, he's been like, okay, he's been fine. The one player though, for me, that's been really good for LA is Zubac. Like Zubac has been awesome. So I grabbed over 17.5 points. It was kind of juiced. I don't mind an 18.5. I think if you went 18.5, maybe just go to 20. To me, this has been awesome. We're projecting over 19 points in this game. He's been really, really exceptional for the Clippers in this game or in this series, really. He's a center and centers have just been crushing Denver throughout the course of the entire regular season, and then now obviously into the playoffs. He's averaging 20.4 points per game in this series, going over this prop line in 4 of 5, low of 16 points. So he's still even putting up numbers. He's not like falling way, way off of the 17.5. And last game, he scored 27 points, which was his series high. The thing is, if you're looking at this from Denver's perspective, you're always down to trade twos with the Los Angeles Clippers. And Zoo is somebody that they're going to keep funneling the ball into because they want to try to get Jokic in some sort of foul trouble, make him work a little bit. And he's getting plenty of volume, over 13 field goal attempts a game and almost 5 free throw attempts per game. So I think that he's going to see a ton of minutes tonight in a must-win, or like realistically a literal must-win game, win or go home game for the Clippers. So I grabbed over 17.5 points.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been great. He's honestly, I think, a big reason why they've been in these. At least his defense on Jokic, his ability to grab boards and kind of contend with Jokic as much as one can. So I like that look a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a fun look. And he's just been great with Jokic. So on the flip side, though, I have a Jokic prop, and I like Jokic to go over 21.5 RA. Look, they have a chance to close this out. You got to get this series over. You do not want to be playing a game 7 against Kawhi and James Harden. But also you don't want to play game 7 when you know you got to play Oklahoma City out of this. So you need to get this game wrapped up. You need to get this series wrapped up. And they have just been selling out, basically saying, you're not going to score on us right now. Like, let everybody else score. Michael Porter Jr. is not like kind of hurt. Aaron Gordon is not somebody that is, typically stretching the floor for you or anything like that. And Jokic has been awesome as a distributor. So on the season, he's averaging 23 RA. In the series, he's gotten 21 plus RA in every game. So we know that he's right there. The rebound chances have continued to climb. That's been the other notable thing. 20, 35, and 23 chances the last 3 games. So even though Zoo has kind of given him some issues as a scoring threat, he's always been able to dish, and he's had double-digit dimes in 4 of these 5 games with at least 17 potentials in every game. So I like him to go over 21.5 RA.
Yeah. I think you make a great – no. I was just going to say, I think you make a great point with like as much as this is a one must win for the Clippers, it's kind of a must win for the Nuggets too. Like they can't be just as thin as they are. They can't be going to 7 when they know that at the other end of that is the absolute monstrosity that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just swept their way into the second round and are just, in the cryo chambers and doing all their, all their health stuff just to get ready for this series. So that's another reason I like the spread, but I think that's another great reason to take Jokic's RA. So
hell yeah. So let's move on. We're gonna give you guys a little bit of a bonus pick, a bonus game here. We've got the Houston Rockets against the Golden State Warriors. We've got Game 6 on Friday night. The Warriors are 5-point favorites. They got their doors blown off in Game 5 when they had a chance to clinch. I don't think that that's going to happen again. That seemed to be like one of those games where you're just like, well, they just don't have it today. But
yeah.
Is there anything that you think we can take from that game, or is there anything that you're trying to target in Game 6?
Definitely. Yeah. I do lean towards taking the points with the Rockets here. It is just a little bit long given the closeout nature of this game. I think Warriors are going to take the series, but whether or not they close it out tomorrow night or if they do, I think it could still be a close game. I think 5 is good. But I'm waiting on that play and going to target. I'll talk about a look that I've already played, which is one of my favorite looks all season. And that's Brandon Podziemski over 13.5 points tomorrow against the Rockets. It's a look that is kind of going under the radar. So taking Podziemski when Jimmy Butler is playing has been a great angle this entire season, and fading his points when Jimmy is out. So the reason being, his usage goes up, unlike most players. His usage goes up when a guy like Jimmy is in, and it goes down when a guy like Jimmy is out. The reason being, Jimmy is one of the few players on the Warriors that can collapse the defense, drive to the hoop. They were one of the lowest free throw rate teams in the NBA before he got there. Now they're one at the top, and a big reason is that Podziemski benefits from that is that he is a great shooter. He's also, it takes some playmaking pressure off him, which is something he can do. But he's also benefiting from that defensive collapse, kickouts to the 3-point line. And yeah, we've seen it basically, another reason that I love it is that he went under last game. But the reason he went under is because they were getting their doors blown off. As you said, they took him out when he had 8 points. I think he played 13 minutes in that game and he still had 8 points. So on track for a pretty monster game given the circumstances. So if we look at the minutes that I think he's going to get, I mean, he's gotten basically has a 60% hit rate to this line with Jimmy playing when he plays 20 or more minutes. Now, the games that he went under, as I mentioned, were games that he didn't play these amount of minutes. He didn't play high minutes. However, as we know, there were circumstances around last game. The other game that he didn't get that was in Game 2, which was the game that Jimmy got hurt. And he also didn't get it in Game 3, which is the game that Jimmy was out. So in games that Jimmy has been playing, he's averaging 36 minutes in these playoffs. So, and when he plays 30 or plus minutes on the season, this is hitting at 80%, including all 4 games versus Houston. So I just think this is a great little fun angle. It seems like not correlated. It seems uncorrelated with Jimmy being in or out, but it actually is massively correlated, and it's a really fun angle to kind of target. And you often get discounts on the line going up or down based on those scenarios. So I really like over 13.5 points at -135 or over 14.5 at +100.
Awesome. No, I do like that. I think it's a good spot for Podziemski. I was on Jimmy Butler last game. I had over 19.5. Really just their doors got blown out, but I don't mind going back to the well. I think his line is it's at 20.5 now. So it did tick up, which I'm a little peeved about, but I think I still might be on that line for Jimmy Butler. But do you think the Warriors can close it out, or like, what do you think about this game? Do you think we're going to get any, or actually here's a better question. Do you think we're getting any Game 7s?
I definitely think we're getting a game set. I mean, we have what, 3 chances, right? I mean, come on, we're getting one of them. Do I know which one? I kind of lean to this one, honestly. I kind of think this might be the game that we get the game 7. I mean, I'm on the Knicks, I'm on the Nuggets, and like I said, I lean to the Rockets. So I'm calling it. This one's going 7. Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State won, but yeah, I'm most likely be taking the 5 with Houston.
I love it. Yeah, somebody in my Discord just messaged and said, I'm gonna add this, and it's absolute chaos. So it's the Pistons Knicks angle parlayed with the Clippers first half and the Nuggets on the money line, and
Ooh.
it's plus 43.62. So
Ooh.
it's a fatty. It's a
I
fatty.
love it.
That was definitely fun.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, could sprinkle a couple dollars on that. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
But let's do a little recap here. I'm on the Detroit Pistons third quarter money line, and then like that little parlay of Pistons third quarter and Knicks money line. Zubac over 17.5 points, Jokic over 21.5 RA. And I'm looking at some Jimmy Butler stuff for tomorrow. Andrew, tell us what you're on.
Yeah, I like that Jimmy Butler angle too. I was on him last game as well. But I am on the Knicks money line. I'm on Denver plus 7. I like it down to plus 6. And I'm on Denver money line as well, little quarter unit there. And then Brandon Pajemski over 13.5 points. And I sprinkled a little on 20 plus because he has hit that in quite a few of these as well.
All right.
So
Hell yeah. So you guys heard it here first. This was we got plenty of good basketball coming up. Obviously, the first round is wrapping up now, but look, we've got so many things and so many tools in the Rhythm app, and you can get it again. Like, there's links in my bio, there's links in Andrew's bio. You can get it for a week for free. If you do like it, come back and we've got a discount for a full month as well. So it's covering you for these games, for the playoffs. It's covering you for player props, baseball. There's golf stuff in there. I know everybody likes a little golf sweat, so that's always really fun. And be sure to check that out. So for Andrew O'Connor Watts at NBA Watts, I'm Joe Dellera, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Coast to Coast.